Okay, go.
Welcome back, guys. It's the Bleacher Preacher podcast again, coming through you live from Oceanside, California and Las Vegas, Nevada. It's me, Johnny Boy, and I'm here with Alex.
What's up, guys? Giants are 0-2, but that's okay.
And Rob, somewhere from a cave, it looks like.
I am currently in the Bat Cave.
Good to know. Now, we just finished up week 3 of the NFL, I believe a couple nights ago. So we're going to look back at a week that kind of showed us, who's for real and who got some catching up to do. The first game I want to bring up is Rob's newest hype machine quarterback, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, walk into Pittsburgh and absolutely lay a beating on the Steelers that looked a little closer in the final score, but that game was not close to begin with. Patrick Mahomes, 6 touchdown passes, Rob. Is this guy for real?
He's got 10 touchdowns in his first 3 starts. The list of quarterbacks that have achieved that is 1 Patrick Mahomes, and that's it. So, he's going to be on my fantasy team starting out for the rest of the year because I cannot trust Matt Stafford and Jimmy Garoppolo for some reason. Matt Stafford and Jimmy Garoppolo combined had 50 points. Pat Mahomes put up 52. So, yeah,
calling that. But with as good as the Chiefs offense is looking, Rob, the Pittsburgh dysfunction is starting to come full circle here. Le'Veon Bell still hasn't shown up, and apparently Antonio Brown yesterday said, "I dare you to trade me," and something close to that capacity.
Yeah, and then he didn't show up for work today pretty much. So Pittsburgh's, steadily falling apart. It's not like I've been saying this for the past couple of years that, Ben Roethlisberger is washed. Mike Tomlin is an overrated coach. And, and Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, the only reason why Pittsburgh is as good as they are.
And I think sorry, John, I'm going to interject here. I think that this is a situation of the inmates are running the asylum. I really do think that Mike Tomlin has lost complete control of that locker room. I guess we didn't really see it last season, but it's not one single event. Le'Veon Bell, as much as a distraction it is a distraction, and it's distracting for the Steelers. And I mean, this game wasn't close. Like John said, it was 21-0 at one point, Kansas City, and I mean somehow Ben Roethlisberger quarterback that team back to something respectable, but it could have been a lot worse.
Now, like you said, Alex, it could have been a lot worse because look how easy the Chiefs were scoring. It was 6 plays or less sometimes. It was like 20, 25 yards in chunks. So I think Alex is right on the point with it. He says Pittsburgh is crumbling from the inside, and I think it starts with the man in charge that Tomlin has allowed this to go on now for a couple seasons, and now it's kind of bubbling up into more issues now. So Pittsburgh's going to be an interesting watch both on and off the field to see what happens. And for an Antonio Brown fantasy owner, this is going to be an interesting couple of days here. So don't do me dirty, Antonio. I'm already down 0-2 in the season. Next game, the Carolina Panthers went down to Atlanta, but we actually saw the Falcons offense come back to life thanks to Matt Ryan. He throws 2 touchdowns and runs in another 2 as the Falcons were able to defeat the Panthers. And now Atlanta's starting to get it back together. And it was a game that didn't see a lot of Julio Jones, but saw a little bit more balance out of the Falcons offense.
Offense looked a lot better this week. Spreaded the ball around. Matt Ryan was stepping into his throws, had good protection. They got the running game going with Tevin Coleman. And it was just a lot of reminiscent of their Super Bowl year when they went to the Super Bowl. A lot of dangerous weapons on offense. Calvin Ridley got off today, so it was a good showing all around for Atlanta.
And
go ahead. Sorry. I agree. I definitely want to highlight my boy Cam Newton. That man tried his damnedest to quarterback his team back. They just fell, 7 points short. Well, 8 points short.
Do you think Carolina, though, Rob, is relying a little bit too much on Christian McCaffrey? We alluded to it a little bit last week, how they're trying to force him the ball and they want to give him it a little bit more spaced out. But I think I saw him have 10 plus catches and I believe 15 rushes. So I think
he has 20 total rushes or 20 total catches on the season, and I think 18 total rushes on the season. He has more catches than rushes. And when you watch the game, you figure out what happened. He was kind of the last guy. He was the check down guy, and he was getting a lot of chunk yardage for Cam Newton. Cam had a really, really solid game. He was almost taken out of the game. KZ hit him. Cam Newton scrambled for a first down, slid. KZ took him out, and then props to former Raven Torrey Smith, because right when Cam got hit, Torrey Smith ran over and popped KZ. So with Cam, we knew that his weapons weren't the best this season. Curtis Samuel's still out. He's relying on Devin Funchess. He's relying on Torrey Smith. You know, this isn't 2013, 2014. It's over the hill wide receivers, a raw DJ Moore. DJ Moore looked really good. I'm hoping DJ Moore gets a little bit more time in the offense, a little bit more reps to try to get something with Cam Newton going. Greg Olson's hurt, so they got to give the ball to their playmakers, and they gave Christian McCaffrey the ball, and he had a lot of yards today.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, Rob, is Cam's kind of limited in who he can use in terms of weapons. So, I mean, McCaffrey's really the guy right now. Greg Olson, who knows when he's going to come back with that hurt foot of his. So, spot on. Definitely think that wide receiver core is missing a Steve Smith that we saw there for so long.
Years ago at this point.
I know, it's nuts to me, but you know, he was so
Smith, like, try and fight Michael Irvin on the Thursday Night Football set.
Well, Michael Irvin wanted to disrespect him, so you know that's what you get.
Steve Smith, he stays ready. Like, that man has always had my respects from when he first broke out with Carolina, and he will not shy away from anybody, nor should he.
I think the terminology we're looking here for is that Steve Smith is about that action.
All the action. But yeah, I think the main thing to take from this game is Atlanta remembered that it has the ability to put the ball in the air and on the ground, and even without Devonta Freeman, I think they'll still be okay as long as they don't keep screwing it up for themselves. Our next game, I mean, out of sake of mentioning that it actually happened, the Buffalo Bills hosted the Los Angeles Chargers in a fairly uneventful game. The Chargers got out to it quickly and kind of coasted to the end, but Josh Allen makes his NFL debut, so maybe Buffalo has their quarterback of the future here. What did you guys think of Josh Allen in his first start?
I think Josh Allen, he had a good showing. I think that the way that the Chargers played in Week 1 and the way that I foresee them playing for this season, they're going to be a tough team to beat. They're no longer the cakewalk that they've been sometimes in the beginning of the season. John touched on in our Week 2 preview how the Chargers always seem to get better in December. And Rob definitely did not know that Wyoming was a D1 school, but we're not going to hold that against them.
Mountain West. He disrespected the Mountain West.
He did, but that's okay, because look, if you were to ask me 10 years ago if Wyoming is a D1 school, I would have told you I don't know. So I don't blame him. And then, but no, Josh Allen looked good. I think the what I want to highlight here in this game is, Phillip Rivers just kind of finding that a recency bias of old quarterbacks being great.
Yeah, the Chargers offense looked really, really good. Melvin Gordon's featuring a lot in the passing game. There's a lot of weapons. Austin Eckler looked good. Melvin Gordon looked good. Keenan Allen is still Keenan Allen. There's Mike Williams there too, making big plays. So there's a lot of weapons there. It's just, I don't think LA, the Chargers, are in that top tier of AFC teams. I still think they're a mid-tier team. They were missing Joey Bosa today, but they're playing Buffalo, so they really didn't need Joey Bosa. Derwin James looks like a star. Derwin James' safety can play in the box, can play deep safety, can cover. He's going to be a star in the making in this league. On the Buffalo side, bit up and down with Josh Allen, and LaShawn McCoy just really has some tough sledding the first couple of weeks of the season.
And I think the highlight of this game was the Vontae Davis retiring at halftime, straight up. I'm out, guys. None of this. No, goodbye. I don't know what to really say because I've never seen this in professional sports.
Vontae Davis has a guaranteed $5 million this season because he made the opening day roster and retired in the middle of week 2. That is ridiculous.
Congrats for him for getting his money. But I feel like that speaks to Buffalo's culture. I don't know. Maybe it's just me talking bad about the Bills, but I mean, come on, man. Like, you've got to finish the game. You just have to. I don't know. Maybe that's talking more about Vontae Davis and not Buffalo, but you've got to finish the game. The one thing I also did want to say is apparently it came out today that Shady's got a fractured rib, so it seems like he may be missing some time.
I mean, Alex, I think me and you were in agreement that anything north of New Rochelle was considered Canada anyway, so I can only imagine how bad it is living in Buffalo. So it's just mind-blowing that a player would literally say, you know what, I'm done with the entire sport of football. Bye. Like,
pretty sure that New York is just Manhattan, the New York City area, Long Island, Staten Island, and Niagara Falls.
Yeah, I think that's all that matters. So, yeah, not a whole lot to really take from this game because we know what Buffalo is going to be, and San Diego might be stuck in the middle. So we'll see how it plays out for them. Next up.
You said San Diego.
San Diego. Well, guess what? I live here now, so I can. Nobody even cares about Corona, California. They can't even sell at their stadium. Our next game, another tie. The Vikings and the Packers end at a 29-29 tie in a game that featured blown calls, blown kicks, and comebacks. So I think the first thing that I saw from this game was Aaron Rodgers is playing elite level quarterback with one knee.
Yeah, he's going to continue making plays. Aaron Rodgers is a top 5 quarterback of all time. Some say just off talent, he is the best quarterback of all time. So this is Aaron Rodgers. He put up 29 points against the Vikings defense, who in my opinion is the best defense in the league, and on one knee. That he's just going to keep on chugging pretty much, and we're probably going to see him for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I loved the way that Aaron Rodgers played and the fact that they actually gave Jimmy Graham the ball this game. Coming over from Seattle, it seemed like it was kind of a match made in heaven. They were just going to be like, oh, Aaron Rodgers to Jimmy Graham all the time. Didn't score any touchdowns, but he got consistent catches. And I like the fact that they were using Jamal Williams a little bit more. Aaron Rodgers wasn't forced to throw the ball in this game like he was in game 1 against the Bears.
And I think what really is going to kind of stand out from this is if Rodgers is not 100%, how much more can we expect from the Packers if he's going to have to will them to games like, with one good leg, and maybe he is playing on a torn something or whatever, but it really goes to show how good Aaron Rodgers is, and he still has one leg. My big thing from this game, though, is you saw those new rules about how you can hit the quarterback directly affect the outcome of a game. You saw a roughing the passer, or unnecessary roughness, whatever you want to call it, thrown against Clay Matthews on a sequence that saw Kirk Cousins throw what would have been a game-stealing interception, but turns into a personal foul. So I just want your guys' thoughts on this.
They're really
just to revisit. What's up, bro?
I don't know. I just don't know about these rules. I mean, at this point, we should be playing flag football.
Yeah, it does seem that way.
There was nothing wrong with how Clay Matthews hit Kirk Cousins. He got him, I think, square in the hips, right in the midsection. But this is going to reach a breaking point if it hasn't already, because this could be a game that may influence playoff positioning and home field. Like, What if the Vikings now finish 9-6-1 or 11-5-1, like something that kind of holds them back from, seeding purposes. So
yeah,
I think this is just going to get worse and worse as the year goes on. So don't be surprised.
The Vikings. So the Vikings, they made the splash with Kirk Cousins, and their offense has looked a lot better this season in the past 2 games. They lead the league in drop passes, and 0 have come from Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen are putting out Pro Bowl caliber seasons again. And I know it's just the first 2 weeks, but these 2 guys are balling out again, and they're weapons to be feared. And the rest of this team just needs to step up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen the best out of Dalvin Cook yet. I think he's still kind of coming back from his injury. So I think once they get him going, it's for sure going to be a more balanced offense. I also think that Kirk Cousins had a great first 2 weeks as in the Vikings uniform. At one point, the Packers, it looked like it was the Packers game to lose, right? And then the Vikings kind of made their way back. Their defense kept it close and as close as they could against a Green Bay team that has a lot of weapons. And then, seems like the Vikings just kept on putting on points. Fun fact, my dad called it as soon as the 10 minutes started rolling on that OT. He was like, this game is ending in a tie. And I want to see the odds of that happening 2 weeks in a row in the NFL.
Dan Carlson, the kicker for the Vikings, 0 of 3 field goal chances. He's already off the roster. They're replacing him with Dan Bailey. If Dan Bailey was on the roster last Sunday, they win the game. They win the game by 9 points because Dan Bailey would have made all 3 field goals.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous to me that he's not with the Cowboys because they didn't want to pay him $5 million.
Yeah, and I guess Dan Bailey also had offers from other teams as well. He waited it out, and now he finds himself in a really good situation with the Vikings, who might be Super Bowl bound.
Lord knows, knowing the Vikings history, you're going to need a kicker to get into the Super Bowl. So fingers crossed for him. Speaking of blown kicks, the next game, the Browns go down to New Orleans, and the Browns just find new ways to make losing more and more heartbreaking and more fascinating to watch, because we saw the Saints and Browns trade leads late in the fourth quarter, and what looked like a game-tying field goal for Cleveland turned into the third miss of the day, the fourth miss of the day for Cleveland kicker Zane Gonzalez, as he misses 2 field goals and 2 extra points. Guys, if you're Cleveland, how much lower can it get?
It could be, honestly, could be worse. This is a team that lost on a blocked field goal while the field goal was returned for a touchdown with 0 seconds left on the clock. So, this hasn't been the worst loss for the Browns in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I really do think that the Browns are just, I don't know. It's funny. I think we should just talk about this team is, we thought they turned a corner and they've really just come out the first 2 weeks and kind of just said, no, we didn't. We're good. We're good being here.
At this point, Hugh Jackson has to be gone in the next 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. I don't think he's going to be gone for this. I think they ride out the whole season with Hugh Jackson. He's probably gone in the off season. After watching Hard Knocks and after, seeing the way he coaches and the way he handles his team, he's not long for this job.
And I know you mentioned Hard Knocks, but even then, a lot of people are like, how does this guy still even have a job? Look at how he talks. Look at how he behaves. Look how he interacts with his players. This man isn't cut out for it. So,
yeah, and the team is still dysfunctional. Josh Gordon has been traded to the Patriots or a 5th-round pick. Josh Gordon, when he first got traded and everybody thought Josh Gordon was gone, everybody was like, hey, and a suspension is coming. Josh Gordon failed something. That's the only reason why they're letting him go. Apparently, that's not the case. Apparently, he lied to the Browns about a hamstring injury that he was supposedly sustained in practice, but it wasn't. It was sustained in like a photo shoot of some sorts. So I don't know how he got hurt, but he got hurt, and he's been lying about it. Guess that was the last straw for the Browns, and now he's gone. Antonio Callaway looks good, the guy that's going to step up in place. Callaway has also had his fair issues in Florida and even in the preseason with the Browns, with his weed violation, traffic stop, whatever that was happening there. So, it's very dysfunctional in Cleveland, but they have so much talent. Like Callaway is going to be a good receiver. Him and Jarvis Landry, those guys are going to be good receivers. Tyrod Taylor actually had a decent game. The Browns are just going to brown. Like at the end of the day, that's what it is. The Browns are just going to brown. Like,
yeah. I think it's hilarious the fact that the Patriots released Corey Coleman, who was on the Browns, for Josh Gordon. I think that's just so. I think Corey Coleman and his shoe collection are probably sitting in somewhere in the New England area, going like, "Well, what do we do now, guys?"
Corey Coleman has had a rough offseason, going from the Browns to Buffalo to New England to now without a job. He's gonna find another job, but that's gonna be 4 teams in like the span of 2 months. So, that sucks for Corey Coleman.
The Eagles have an opening right now.
I believe they just worked out Jordan Matthews. We might see a Jordan Matthews reunion in Philadelphia.
The flip side of this game, though, guys, if you're the Saints, that's 2 underwhelming weeks now after losing your home opener and season opener to the Bucs, and then you have to sweat it out against the Browns. So what have you seen the Saints right now that's kind of giving them these issues, or what concerns you about them going forward?
It's just inconsistency with the Saints. I think they'll be fine. It's just they haven't played a game where both sides have contributed. Week 1, the offense was lights out. The defense got destroyed by Fitzmagic. Week 2, the defense came to play, and the offense just really couldn't get anything going against the Browns. So it's just trying to find that balance where both sides of the ball show up and have a good game at the same time, and then we're going to see those 34 to like 10 blowouts that we see from the Saints, or we don't, and the Saints just struggle for the rest of the season. We don't know. It's the Saints. I feel like either option where they can just have a 6-10 terrible season, and Drew Brees might throw for 5K yards and look good the whole season. Like I don't know with the Saints. They're frustrating.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly what Rob hit it right on the head. Is it's an inconsistency issue. They're gonna get it figured out. I think Drew Brees and that offense with Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas is too good not to figure it out. And then that defense, I mean, they just got to start working as a unit, which they did this week, but their offense just couldn't pull it together. So, I think Sean Payton has a good thing going there. And I think he's going to try to ride it out as much as he can. But yeah, I think like Rob said is perfect. It's figuring it out on both sides of the ball.
Another breakout game for Michael Thomas, solidifying top 5 wide receiver status. Michael Thomas was 12 catches for 89 yards. He had how many catches last week? He had like 16, so he's at 28 after 2 games. Michael Thomas is gonna break some records this season. Like, he's either gonna break Marvin Harrison's catch record or he's gonna break Brandon Marshall's catch record in the game. Like, they're just gonna hit Michael Thomas, and he's pretty much uncoverable.
Makes you wonder how this guy somehow fell to the 2nd round. So shame on the NFL. The next game up, pretty uneventful, was the Houston Texans going down to Tennessee to play the Titans. The big play from this game was a fake punt that turned into a touchdown pass for the Titans. But outside of that, I think just another disappointing showing for the Texans, who, with all the talent they have on both sides of the ball, you're now looking at an 0-2 hole in a very tough division with, Jacksonville and Tennessee now. So, Rob, if you're Houston, what do you have to do to turn this thing around?
First, you have to make sure Deshaun Watson is not running for his life every play because from watching the bits and pieces of the game, now I didn't watch the whole game from start to finish, but from watching every time I saw the Texans on offense, Deshaun Watson was running for his life. He was sacked 4 times, 9 quarterback hits, and that's just the stats that mattered. Like he was making throws on the run literally every play. So Deshaun Watson needs to get comfortable and be able to get into a groove and, stay in the pocket and find some rhythm and hit his receivers. Right now, the offensive line isn't giving him the chance to do that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, John. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say getting Will Fuller back last week at least gave them a full complement on offense. But like you said, you can have the mobile quarterback, you can have dynamic running back receivers, but with no time and no consistency in front of you, you're not going to get a rhythm on offense. And I think that's going to be Bill O'Brien's detriment here.
Yeah. I agree with you guys. I think the most surprising thing for me is the fact that the Titans won this game. I really just didn't think that the Titans were gonna beat the Texans like they did. But I mean, my boy Marcus and Dion Lewis and Derrick Henry and all those guys there, I guess they figured it out. So happy in that sense. But yeah, this game was kind of just uninteresting to me. I don't know.
Yeah, Marcus Mariota didn't play. They had the Blaine Gabbert show, but it was all good.
Really? See, told you, uninteresting.
How uninteresting it was.
They're all pro safety, had their back. They're all pro safety. Kevin Byard with a 68-yard touchdown pass on that fake punt. So, I mean, it was all good. The Texans just didn't really take the game like it was there to be taken. There was not a lot of running game by the Titans. There was not a lot of passing game by the Titans. The Titans really won on trick plays today. We saw a wide receiver screen get taken to a touchdown. We saw the fake punt for a touchdown. So J.J. Watt had a really good game. Clowney didn't play. I know they were missing him, and they just didn't take control of the game. So it's still a team that's struggling to find ways to win the game. This is a game that the Texans, if they want to be a good team, had to find a way to win the game. They just didn't.
That's kind of something that I did want to ask you guys. Now that kind of Rob was kind of alluding to it. At any point here in the next 12 months, do the Texans just sell the farm and try to trade J.J. Watt or Jadeveon Clowney? Because at one point you're going to have what happened in Seattle, where your guys are too old and you're not going to get any value back.
I think Jadeveon Clowney's up for a contract extension coming soon, so there's going to be a big trying to figure out how much they want to pay Jadeveon Clowney. I think Merciless got his contract. I don't remember. Then Watt as well. So, I mean, they have the blueprint. What you need is a really good rookie quarterback or a really good quarterback on a rookie contract and able to load up elsewhere. They just they just don't have enough talent right now. So their window is starting to be slimmer and slimmer.
I think it comes down to coaching and preparation. Bill O'Brien has been down there now for a couple seasons, but it's been the same mistakes that have played the Texans now time and time again. I mean, yes, Deshaun Watson is a dynamic quarterback, but you can only expect so much out of a 24, 25-year-old right now. If you're not going to help him out, at least get some balance, because even the games they were winning and competing with last year, they needed him to throw for 300-400 yards and almost rush for another 100. So to Alex's point, though, I don't think you can trade J.J. Watt and keep the franchise after what he did for that team post-disaster and, him being the unequivocal face of that franchise since its inception. I don't think there's ever going to be that discussion of J.J. Watt leaving. Might it be the Texans' downfall? Possibly, but at the same time, I think he stays. And it could be one of those teams where they're so top-loaded because they gave all their money to, 3, 4, 5 guys that the rest of the 40-plus members on the roster may suffer.
I mean, the Texans had 19 first downs today. Titans only had 14. Texans had 437 total yards. The Titans only had 283. So when you look at stuff like that, you're like, well, they won single-handedly. Penalty yards are kind of the same as well. So it's like, I don't think that they should be selling anytime soon. I think that they're a good team. They just don't know how to win yet.
Yeah, I see your point there. I just think that people, what people, again, it's like recency bias of the NFL is like, oh, you want those amazing defensive players, but you also got to realize that, at one point or another, they're not going to be that amazing defensive player. So that's just, that's just been my opinion.
All right, guys. So I think enough about that game. Next up, we had the Indianapolis Colts head over to Washington to take on the professional football team that plays in Landover, Maryland. So what we saw from the Washington professional football team in Arizona last week was how well they functioned with Alex Smith at quarterback and how they played a prototypical Alex Smith game of distributing the ball, no turnovers, no bad throws. Everyone got touches, but week 2, it all disappeared. They looked slow. They looked dysfunctional. Running game never got going. At the same time, receivers didn't help out. I think it turned out that Jamison or Jay Crowder. No, Jay Crowder's the football player or the basketball player. Their slot receiver Crowder was their leading rusher. So a very unsatisfying performance for Washington against a Indianapolis team that really didn't light the world up either in their first game. But it was good to see Andrew Luck get back in the winning ways. But again, Washington, why must you do this?
Yeah, so Jamison Crowder was their leading. Jamison Crowder, the wide receiver, was their leading rusher. Chris Thompson, the running back, was their leading receiver. It's a prototypical Alex Smith game. A whole bunch of short yardage, a lot of really good completion percentage, a lot of completions, and a whole bunch of field goals. Just no spark, no life on offense, and there was just no big plays. Adrian Peterson had a really, really tough time going against this Colts defense, and really the Colts just kind of cruised to victory. Darius Leonard, the Indianapolis linebacker, had 18 total tackles, a sack, and a tackle for a loss. So, shout out to him. He was all over the place making plays.
This is a Dustin Hopkins highlight reel. He had all 9 points, so good for him. In terms of Washington, I do think that it is worth mentioning the fact that the Colts kind of got their wheels under them, is a good way to put it. And Andrew Luck threw for 2 touchdowns. I think John, you had touched on it in the week 2 preview that, we really don't know what Andrew Luck we're going to get this year. He's no longer that blue chip quarterback. So, what are we going to see from him? Good that we saw a solid performance out of him. And I think the Colts will need to figure out who's going to be their premier running back. I think they're okay with sharing those downs at the moment between Jordan Wilkins, Marlon Mack, and Nyheim Hines. But at the same time, I do think that that they need to figure that out and find a way to make sure that they're finding one guy that they really like and kind of have that security blanket for Andrew Luck.
No, I think that's the Colts' first step into getting back into normalcy is do the basics. Get Luck going again, take care of him, and for the love of Christ, protect him. Don't let him get hit 30, 40 times a year or a game. I don't know. At this point, I just always know he's having to peel himself up off the ground.
He was only sacked once. That's always a good stat to have. He's only been touched once pretty much. Washington really doesn't have a scary defense, though, so he still has to go against the Houston, Jacksonville, Titans defense 6 times a year. So he's only been touched once today. He's going to go against Jacksonville. He's going to be on his ass 10 times. So good luck, Andrew Luck.
All right. Speaking of the NFC East, the defending Super Bowl champs went down to Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers, and Ryan Fitzpatrick is out here acting up, throwing for 400 yards and touchdown bombs, and Deshaun Jackson apparently thinks it's still 2009 and he can run deep posts again. So this was probably the biggest upset of week 2. Me and Rob did not even give Tampa Bay a chance in this game. So we expected Philly to have some regression, some issues that, slow starts, maybe trying to turn it over again to the next season. But they lose a game that they probably shouldn't have any business losing. But I think more credit has to go to Tampa Bay for letting it fly.
Fitz magic. It just works. 2 75-yard touchdown passes, one to O.J. Howard, the tight end, one to Deshaun Jackson. The 400 yards, he had multiple receivers with over 15-yard catches. He was just slinging it all around the field. It's magic right now. And he 100% should still be the starter in week 5 when Jameis Winston comes back. I don't care. Fitz magic, you just got to ride the wave right now. You're 2-0 with him. He looks like Conor McGregor. He's rocking Deshaun Jackson's chains and jacket and whatnot. Like you cannot bench Fitzpatrick right now.
This is a total 180 of the Fitzpatrick we saw with the Jets. Maybe it was the Jets.
And any other team he's fleeced for a contract. This is what Fitzpatrick does.
Yeah. So definitely happy for the Harvard guy. You never see Ivy League athletes be super successful in the NFL. So glad to hear that glad to see that he's doing really well. But yeah, I agree with you, Rob and John, that the Eagles, should have won this game. They really should have. I mean, just didn't seem like the defense that they were looking for. And then, yeah, I mean, you gotta admit when someone beats you, and Ryan Fitzpatrick beat the Eagles.
The Eagles get Carson Wentz back next week. I think that just makes their team so much better with Carson Wentz instead of Nick Foles. I mean, yeah, you won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. That happened, but you're not going to win a Super Bowl with Nick Foles through the whole season. You can't start Nick Foles through the whole season and win a Super Bowl.
So that's Sean being angry, but yeah, it's not very often that you're going to bench a Super Bowl MVP in favor for another quarterback.
Carson Wentz was going to be the regular season MVP. If
Carson Wentz
didn't get hurt, he was the MVP.
No, yeah, exactly. So I mean, you're trading a Super Bowl MVP for a regular season MVP contender, year in, year out, because we'll see what happens this year. But he could be in that conversation. John, I'm sorry, we were going to say it.
What?
Oh, you spaced out there. Okay. Well, Bucks win.
No, and like you said, Alex, now with Jameis Winston all but benched, why not trade him? If you're the Buccaneers, why not just put him out there?
Because in 10 weeks, Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be like, I've made enough money, and then completely lose the magic. Fitz magic is not something that's continuous. Fitz magic is just a spur of the moment. It happens for 4 or 5, 6 games where he looks competent and you want to go with Fitz magic, and then the magic runs out.
Magic's all about deception, guys. So Fitz magic, it's pretty appropriate because he's trying to deceive you right now.
All right. Our next game, the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets have probably one of the most Miami Dolphins, New York Jetty games of all time, that there wasn't really too many highlights that came out of this. Outside of that, Ryan Tannehill continues to show improvement coming back from his knee injury. Sam Darnold did regress a little bit this week, but he did show some poise in helping the Jets stay within the game. But again, too many Jet mistakes, which you can apply to almost any game sometimes with them. But I think both teams come out of this week, still looking fairly good, because I think Darnold's going to be just fine, and Miami could have something if Tannehill keeps this together.
It was just growing pains for the Jets. The Jets should have won this by 2 touchdowns at least, 100%. They went into the second half with no points on the board while driving. I think they ended their drive on I know they ended on Miami's side of the field. They had no more timeouts left, and they just couldn't stop the clock. And that's just a quarterback knowing that we don't have any timeouts. If I throw it and I complete it over the middle of the field, the clock is going to run out. I need to get it to the sideline. So that's something that Darnold needs to. He's going to get more experience, and he's going to be better at that. They also left points on the board with they got a turnover. The Jets caused a turnover, got the ball in Miami's red zone, and then that ensuing drive, Sam Darnold throws a pick in the back in the end zone. So that's 2 touchdowns, or at least 10 points, or at least 6 points that they leave on the field. And if they get those 6 points, it's a tie ball game.
Yeah, exactly, Rob. I mean, it seems kind of what John said. The Jets did their best Jets impression to lose this game. I love what I'm seeing out of the Dolphins in the terms of their wide receiving core. I'm loving Albert Wilson, loving Danny Amendola down there, and Kenny Stills didn't have as monster of a game as he did week 1, but it's hard to have that kind of repeat performance. So glad to see that that wide receiver core is really kind of figuring it out. Impressive stat here. Ryan Tannehill ran 8 times for 44 yards. So he was their second leading rusher behind Kenyon Drake, who had 53 yards and 11 carries. And then also want to highlight my boy Kiko Alonso. He had 13 tackles.
Yeah, I believe Frank Gore also moved up on the rushing list. He's churning out a Hall of Fame career, and he's just, old reliable. So shout out to Frank Gore, still kicking.
It's funny to think that he's been around this long, but he's still being productive. So credit to Frank Gore, who may sneak his way into the Hall of Fame as well if he keeps climbing up this list.
Yeah, you look at the stats, and if his name wasn't Frank Gore, he's a shoe-in to the Hall of Fame. But since he is Frank Gore, you don't think that Frank Gore has had the success and the cumulative stats that he has had, particularly because he was in San Francisco in the dark years, and then he was in San Francisco in the successful years, and then he was in San Francisco in the dark years again, and now he's he was with the Colts for the past couple of years, and now he's back in Miami. But he's moving out. He's 10th all time in rushing now. Like, he's put up a crazy career, and he's I hope he makes it into the Hall of Fame first ballot, because he deserves it.
He has to go in as a 49er, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I think you don't remember much of the Indy years, because that's kind of when Indianapolis began to fall off as well. But just credit to the longevity.
That was the Andrew Luck bum years where he, decided he took too many hits and he was gone for a couple of years. And
also known as the years I wanted to take him in the first round of fantasy, and
he took him first overall. That was a bold move, and that was the year he fell apart.
I think it's my fault.
It probably was.
I think it's my fault, guys.
Your fantasy prowess is, I mean, if we're talking, 5-year-old drafting or 25-year-old drafting, you're definitely at the 5-year-old drafting.
You started Dante Pettis this week. What was going through your head when you started Dante Pettis?
And he still got me more points than any other receiver on my bench, because Doug Baldwin's hurt, and I believe I forgot who's the other one I had.
Dante Pettis had 5 points, though.
Yeah. Man, I got nothing out of anybody else outside of Matt Ryan. Everyone else got minimal points, 5 to 7 across the board. Antonio Brown didn't do much, but I'm leaving that towards the end because I have another bone to pick with fantasy after that. Next afternoon game was the marquee afternoon game. The Patriots went down to Jacksonville and took on Blake Bortles and the Jaguars. And my goodness, Blake Bortles balls out, throws for 300-plus yards and 4 touchdowns as the Jaguars handle the Patriots down in a rematch of the AFC Championship. So me and Rob like Jacksonville in this matchup. We thought their defense was up to the challenge this time with a shorthand New England offense. And from the first quarter on, I think Jacksonville dictated the pace of the game. They made the Patriots uncomfortable, and they really didn't give them much of a chance to come back in the game. So if this Jacksonville team can, stick to this game plan and stick to this ideal, they're going to be a scary team come January. And I loved what I saw from Bortles. I absolutely loved it.
If this Blake Bortles shows up every week, Jacksonville is not going to lose a game, period. He threw for 377 yards against the Patriots, and Tony Romo was on the broadcast, and he was like, "Oh, they're passing again. They're not running it." And then he was like, "Oh, he's open. Oh, he's open." And then it was like, "Oh, he's open too." Blake Bortles was slinging the rock all over the place, and it made no sense. They needed to run the ball, grind the time down, grind the game, and win a good football game. But no, Blake Bortles was just slinging it around through the air, and it was just like, all right, Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles won them the game like that.
And what I thought was crazy is Leonard Fournette did not play this game, so it did fall on Bortles' shoulders, and he answered the call easily. He was made, and I think not only just what you said about his throwing, Rob, he was a threat with his legs as well. He ran for a couple first downs, and he was extending plays. And I know this is gonna, you might not directly agree with it. He looked like a younger Big Ben, more towards his prime.
Yeah. What I liked about this game is that the Jaguars game planned it perfectly. The Jaguars kind of knew what the Patriots were going to throw at them. Now, granted, I do think that if we see a rematch of this somewhere down the line, I can guarantee you that Bill Belichick is not going to make this as easy as it looked. He's definitely going to know, hey, that's it. We gotta change this whole thing up. But no, I agree with you guys. I think Blake Bortles looked super solid in this game. Kind of shutting up those people that were saying that he was not a reliable quarterback. And I think he's found a fantastic home down there in Jacksonville. A scheme that works to his favor, not only because he can sling the ball, but they have running options for him as well, which is an underestimated part of his game, and he's got the weapons to do it. I mean, yeah, when you have Leonard Fournette on that running next to you, you're kind of expected to hand it off to him. But when you don't, it's that deception that stops defenses in their tracks.
And I think this game is actually going to pay dividends for the Jaguars now come playoff time, because I think this is going to be one, if not the top seed in the AFC, if, health permitting, everyone stays around. And this really showed me that Jacksonville can compete not only with the elite, but they are now in the elite. So I don't see them falling off this year, and be on the lookout for Blake Bortles and the Jaguars.
Any worries about the Patriots defense? Because this is still Blake Bortles that put up 377 and 4 touchdowns.
I would say it is warranted because, they took advantage of the Patriots' weaknesses. Let's spread them out and let's pick on the one corner that we know we can get easy matchups on. So, again, I know this is week 2. It's a lot to get hung up on. For as good as the Patriots defense did look in week 1, of course they regressed in week 2 because you had a team that took advantage of where they could. And I don't know if the Patriots thought they were going to get more of a rushing attack. They weren't ready for Bortles to put the ball up as much as he did, but that's where I think credit has to go to Jacksonville is they kept attacking. They never got conservative like they did in the AFC Championship game. They kept putting the ball in the air, and they trusted Blake Bortles. So I think we do have to give Bortles that credit that now maybe he is maturing into a more capable quarterback.
The only defense that have made Blake Bortles look this good is the Pittsburgh defense, and the Pittsburgh defense is absolutely trash.
I believe you're on record saying that even with Ryan Shazier no longer playing football, they found a way to become more trash.
Shazier was good.
Shazier
was the bright spot on the defense.
No, that's what I'm saying. When they had him, they were still you still called them trash. Without him, what are they now?
They're still trash.
Last thing I want to say about this game before we move on. Julian Edelman's still suspended, and like we touched on earlier, now they've got a deep threat in Josh Gordon. So it'll be interesting to see how Tom Brady uses those two weapons to his advantage once Edelman's available to come back and once Gordon's on the field.
Can Julian Edelman play slot corner? Because they need a corner.
So this is funny. He actually did in the Super Bowl in 2011. He was actually matched up against Victor Cruz at times. I'll let you remember how that one ended.
Yeah, you lost.
Yeah. So can Josh Gordon play corner?
Can he show up on time? We'll start with that.
Speaking of wide receivers, though, Keelan Cole and Dede Westbrook for the Jaguars looked really good. Fantasy football picked those two up.
All right, John, what's the next game?
Apparently there was a football game in Los Angeles that the Arizona Cardinals were supposed to show up to and never got the memo because the LA Rams absolutely ran roughshod on the Cardinals, 34-0. Todd Gurley goes for 3 touchdowns. The Rams dominated from beginning to end, and it's kind of hard to find storylines in this outside of that the Rams look just as good as advertised and the Cardinals might be even worse than advertised. So I think my biggest question for this is, when does Josh Rosen get thrown into the fire?
Sam Bradford's going to get hurt in the next month, so that's when Josh Rosen comes in.
So they're just waiting for that injury to happen?
Yeah, pretty much.
And
where's Honey Badger now? Is he still on that defense?
Houston.
He's in.
Houston.
Oh, okay.
They didn't want to pay Honey Badger. But no, I did not expect the Cardinals to fall this flat on their face, like shut out 34-0. And then after a very underwhelming performance in week 1, this team is showing very little signs of life on offense. And you have David Johnson. You have a top 5 running back on your team.
And you have Larry Fitzgerald, who might be a top 10 wide receiver of all time.
It's just, like I said, it's kind of mind-blowing that this team was a Super Bowl contender 3-4 years ago. And then, piece by piece, you start losing some guys and it all catches up to you.
I just think it's so incredibly hard to get bageled in the NFL. So it's amazing to me that the Cardinals scored no points. But, I mean, I guess you also have to give props to the Rams, because the Rams, they literally stepped on the Cardinals' throat and didn't let go until the fourth quarter was over.
I know Rob is at the forefront of this train, but Aaron Donald is absolutely unreal. Like, it's not fair to have an Aaron Donald on your team.
Yeah, Aaron Donald and Sue and Peters and Aqib Talib. The Rams are for real. I love their offense. The wide receiver core, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, and Cooper Kupp. They can do a little bit of everything. Brandon Cooks is their deep threat. Kupp and Robert Woods is their playmakers in the middle, their reliable hands, and then Todd Gurley having 3 touchdowns. Also with the Rams, I don't think they attempted an extra point. I think they went for 2 after every touchdown, which is kind of savage.
Kicker got hurt I believe, in the beginning of the game or in warm-ups, and they did not have a kicker to use at all. So
I lost a fantasy game because of it. Thanks, Greg Zuerlein.
That explains it then, because I didn't really watch the whole game to get that storyline, but I watched bits and pieces through Red Zone and whatnot. I think Todd Gurley also left the game injured. I'm not sure. I haven't had any reports of him.
I think it was just precaution. They're like, this game's in hand. We'll not even risk it.
Yeah, Todd Gurley had 3 touchdowns. Todd Gurley just putting up another monster season. Jared Goff didn't really have to do much, and steam train.
All right. Staying in the NFC West, the 49ers hosted the Detroit Lions in a matchup of 0-1 teams that they needed a win to kind of stay, on the right path of things here. But I think this was the first game I think we've seen Jimmy Garoppolo, have a real up and down game. I know week 1 in Minnesota, he was pretty much down most of it, but he did have some bright spots in this game. But Detroit, much like the Jets are going to jet, the Lions are going to lion, as a potential game-sealing interception was wiped out by a defensive holding call that was about 15, 20 yards away from the actual play. So, again, you never go full Detroit. But the 49ers eke out a win at home over the Lions. So where do you see the Lions going from here now 0-2 and heading back home to play the Patriots?
We're going to see 0-3. That's what we're going to see with the Lions.
It's an unceremonious start for Matt Patricia because there was a lot of optimism that he could help kind of change the culture in Detroit and kind of bring it a little more cohesiveness, get a little more balance to this team. But there's times I look at this roster and it's like they don't believe in running the ball. They just have a bunch of backs that just like to catch it, or they'll throw screen passes to them. But I think too much is still being asked of Matthew Stafford, and not having true balance in their offense, it's starting to hurt them more and more each year.
I like a couple of guys on their offense. I mean, Kenny Golladay.
They have good players.
Kenny Golladay has looked like a really, really good receiver. He's going to break out this year. Pick him up in fantasy if you need a wide receiver. Kerryon Johnson, I like when you got drafted. They just don't run the ball, period. So it really doesn't matter. Running backs in Detroit,
Stafford threw it for 53. Threw it 53 times.
Yeah, they're just a middle of the pack team. That's just what the Lions are. And Patricia's a good coach. He just needs time to turn the ship around. They just need a couple draft classes, get some more talent. They're kind of in the middle. They've lost a lot of talent over the years. Sue's gone, Avril's gone. Calvin Johnson is retired. Reggie Bush was the last 100-yard rusher in a game. They haven't had a 100-yard rusher in a long time. There's a lot of talent that's left Detroit, and they're just kind of in the middle pretty much talent-wise, and they're kind of in the middle in the crossroads. So they're hoping Patricia gives them a new lease on life and whatnot, but they're going to have to wait a couple of years and bring some more talent in. Stafford's not getting any younger, so if they hope they can get some more talent around Stafford before Stafford, falls off the face of the earth, but, that's hard to do in the NFL.
For the 49ers side of things, I mentioned Jimmy Garoppolo kind of balancing things out here, but I think it's still going to take some time for this Niner offense to fully get on track. They're still adjusting without Jerick McKinnon, but right now their starter, Matt Breida is actually leading the NFL in rushing right now, so a small hidden gem there, could help salvage, I don't want to say salvage this season, but at least salvage the position for the 49ers. Again, not a whole lot of information out of this game, so we're going to move on to the Sunday night cap, which saw the Giants head down to Dallas, which because we always have to have the Cowboys-Giants game on some kind of Sunday night, September. So Alex is shaking his head. Me and Rob will take a step back. And Alex, for the love of God, keep the F-bombs to a minimum.
All right, everyone. So the Cowboys won. I think that goes without saying. What I will say about this team, the Giants, is that just protect Eli Manning. That's all I need. That's all I need. I need some, like, DeMarcus Lawrence consistently got into the backfield without even being touched by a lineman. Our starting center went down with a leg injury in the third quarter. Not like he was doing much, but at the same time, the one thing that I realized about the Giants and the Cowboys is that the Cowboys offensive line is arguably one of the best ones in the NFL. And the Giants offensive line is not arguably one of the worst in the NFL. So the reason that Dak was able to put up those 20 points is because he was getting no pressure. And of course, Zeke and Cole Beasley and the whole offense had a point in that. But that's really my biggest takeaway from this game is the Giants couldn't keep Eli Manning on his own 2 feet. Saquon Barkley was Saquon Barkley and was able to run the ball, not as effectively as game one, but still ran the ball. Odell Beckham kind of took a step back in the game plan, didn't really get the ball much. Evan Ingram actually caught the ball this game, and Sterling Shepard, he was sprinkled in there every once in a while. I don't know if you guys realize this, but last week against the Jaguars, there was a punt return. The guy dropped it. So person taking punt returns this week was Odell Beckham, and he literally caught them above his head. So it just goes to show how crazy his hands are. But that's really my biggest takeaway from this game is the Giants can't keep Eli Manning on his own 2 feet, and the Cowboys can.
On the Cowboys side, defensively, Taco Charlton looked really good. DeMarcus Lawrence looked really good, but that's easy to say because of the offensive line woes of the Giants. On the offensive side, we were missing the big plays in Dallas. That's what I thought was their weakness, is they didn't have any big play threats other than Ezekiel Elliott. Tavon Austin went deep. I believe it was the third play of the game where he broke off a 70-yard touchdown. So good for them. Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott in the running game had them on their heels. Every time they focused on Zeke, Dak had his quarterback option, his read option, and he made first downs happen. When they tried to bottle up and play some flats, play some zones, play some QB spies, Zeke just ran up the middle. They just they geared to stop one thing and another thing happened, and then they geared to stop that one thing and then a different thing happened. It's just a bad football game for the Giants this week.
I believe it was in the second quarter or something, but it also didn't help that Eli Apple got hurt, and so we were on our third string cornerback out there.
I would just say the thing that doesn't make sense to me is the Giants signed Nate Solder, kind of hold down the left end, or excuse me, the left side of the line, but how is Eric Flowers still allowed to even show up to the Giants facility with how he performs on a weekly basis?
Eric Flowers needs to go back to Miami and become a coach, not a lineman coach. Go become like a running backs coach or something, because he can't coach linemen. But no, I don't understand how this man still has a contract in the NFL.
I think the best tweet I saw about it was that someone needs to hire Eric Flowers to the Port Authority because he loves letting people through. That's a tri-state area joke for if anyone listens there.
On the Giants side of the ball, Saquon Barkley, really frustrating to watch. So one of the knocks on Saquon Barkley, pretty much his only knock, is he runs east to west a lot, and he looks for the big play. He looks for the big gain. He doesn't lower his shoulder and just run over and take those 3-yard gains pretty much. We saw a lot of that when he had the ball in his hands. There was there was times where he made the move and he had one of that dump off pass where he had to spin move on the sideline, tiptoed and gained 5 extra yards. But he runs east to west a lot, and that's a 220-pound running back. That's a physical specimen. You just lower your shoulder and take the 2, 3, 4-yard gains instead of running 15 yards side to side trying to look for the big one. So that's a knock I have on Saquon Barkley. He's probably going to learn a little bit more. That's he did that at Penn State a lot because he was trying to do too much. I really think he's just trying to do too much. So he had the big play against Jacksonville, the 1 carry for 68 yards. You take that out, and I think he's at like 20 carries for like 60 yards or something like that. If you just take the one big play out, he was good in the passing game. He had 14 catches for 80 yards. So he's been reliable there. He's going to be reliable to get yards. He's got to take the little yards when he can and just stop looking for that big play because it's going to happen. He's too explosive for it to just not happen.
This is I don't want to say the last point I want to leave the Giants on. I think this is something we're going to bring up throughout the season, though. We can harp on the O-line as much as we can, but do we think that the Giants made a mistake not taking a franchise quarterback over Saquon Barkley?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not, because I don't think that – I think Pat Shurmur was happy. I mean, he's the quarterback whisperer, right? So I think Pat Shurmur knew what he was doing, realizing that I've got an established quarterback in Eli Manning, and he's not going anywhere for the next 2 to 3 years. So let's focus on getting him another weapon, and then we can focus on replacing him when that time's come. I also personally, as a Giants fan, don't like any of the quarterbacks that were available. So of course Baker Mayfield was gone, but he was an option. You also had Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold. I'm not a big fan of USC quarterbacks, just never have been. And Josh Allen and Josh Rosen just didn't tell me they were NFL ready. So that's just really where I stand on it.
And like I said, I don't think it's a wrong pick. I just think, do you think one need should have presided over the other? But again, time is only going to tell. I think they'll figure this out with Eli, or not with Eli, excuse me, with his protection, and at least help him get the ball out a little bit quicker and get some help from his cast as well.
I mean, the Cowboys took Ezekiel Elliott 4th overall, but they just lucked out and got Dak Prescott in the 5th round. Like, you know, taking Saquon 3rd overall, it's not something that was a detriment. Like, you could have found a really good quarterback in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round that we haven't seen yet. So taking a quarterback that high, it doesn't always pan out. It never does. You know, you get the Jake Lockers, you get the Blaine Gabberts that were taken top 10. So, you know, it's kind of a crapshoot. You know, you find your Russ Wilsons in the 3rd round, you find your Tom Brady's in the 6th round. Like, you can find quarterbacks. You just have to have a coach, and I think they do, and Pat Shermer, that can develop a quarterback. So I don't think it's a mistake. Saquon Barkley, he's going to go down as a top 20 running back of all time. I just like his potential that much. You know, I think when he came out, and I think he was better than Todd Gurley when Todd Gurley was coming out. I think he was better than Leonard Fournette. I think he was better than Ezekiel Elliott when he was coming out. So I like the talent of Saquon Barkley that much. I think he's the best running back prospect in the last 5 years. So no mistake at all with the Giants taking Saquon Barkley.
All right. Well, like I said, I think time is going to tell the best. I'm not alluding to it being a mistake, but you know, there's always going to be people second guessing when they see 1% have a good week and then someone else struggles another. But there's a lot of other factors that do go into this. So we'll be monitoring closely as non-Giant fans and Giant fans alike, anxiously await week 3.
Look, they're 0-2. Sam Darnold's not going to win those 2 games against Jacksonville and Dallas. You know, no quarterback wasn't. So,
I think the best thing that come out of this game is Eli's terrified face. If you guys haven't seen it,
it's our yearly Eli meme. I have a collection on my phone when I'm feeling sad.
Yeah, the one when he was like getting picked up off the turf by like 2 linemen, and there was just like wide-eyed Eli. It was like, what the hell just hit me? Great times.
Never fails, Eli. Last game of the week, the Seattle Seahawks go to Chicago to take on Khalil Mack in that vaunted Bears defense. Seattle boasting probably the 2nd worst offensive line in the NFL. It went pretty much as expected. Russell Wilson was harassed for most of the evening. They did make a little bit of a game of it towards the end, but not enough to overcome the Bears. My big takeaway from this game was I think Mitch Trubisky still has some ways to go, progressing as I would say, decent level starter, because he's still, to me, making some frustrating reads. And I just don't – I know he's still young. I know he still has a lot of growing to do, but he's leaving a lot to be desired for me right now.
Don't take this the wrong way, but a young Brett Favre was a gunslinger that tried to, like, put balls into places where he shouldn't have. He's got like the worst part of a young Brett Favre, where he tried to like put balls where, you know, he really shouldn't have. He went deep down and Robinson got picked off, underthrew it. He tried to put a ball through a tight space for Allen Robinson again and missed it as well. I was paying close attention to Mr. Trubisky, and you know, he had some good things. He was very mobile. He was great in the pocket. He was able to extend plays. He had Tariq Cohen. He had a Russell Wilson-esque play where he was spinning around in the pocket, you know, doing 360s left and right, and he found Tariq Cohen for like a 10-yard gain. So, you know, there's good parts about Mitch Trubisky, but there's also frustrating, growing pain parts about Mitch Trubisky, and I think he'll be fine. I think, you know, he's going to have some time to grow, and he's looked, for the most part, as a competent NFL quarterback, albeit young, and just needs some seasoning.
I think my biggest takeaway from this is, holy crap, Khalil Mack. I just keep thinking of the song Return of the Mac, and how Chicago fans are probably going to abuse the hell out of that for the next couple of years. Khalil Mack is an unstoppable force. And I think I think Russell Wilson just got tired of seeing the number 52 around him. Really do think that Khalil Mack is just that good. He had it on display not only against the Bears or not only against the Seahawks, but also against the Packers. And I mean, it's just impressive to think that, you know, the Bears are continuing that story of really, really good defensive players on their squad. And I know we've probably said it before, but I'm going to say it again. Oakland's kicking themselves.
Did we go over Oakland's game?
We did not. John did not even talk about that one.
Speaking of Oakland, we didn't go over their game. We'll do that.
Broncos won 2019. Derek Carr had a great game.
Yeah, we'll go over that game in detail a little bit after this. But on the Khalil Mack thing, I picked up the Bears defense in fantasy as soon as the Mack trade wasn't even finalized. The Mack trade was reported, and I dropped the defense that I picked up in the draft that I drafted in like the 17th round, and I picked up the Bears defense immediately. That's how big of a difference Khalil Mack is. Khalil Mack he turned a top 20 defense into a top 10 defense. That's ridiculous. And I won my fantasy matchup this week just because of the Bears defense.
It's a classic, guys. Never gets old.
It's a good song. It's a great song. So
we're gonna get hit by a copyright strike. Thanks, John.
He's in prison now, so it doesn't matter.
So yeah, I mean, I think everything else you guys said was spot on. I think Russell Wilson was running for his life, and it really makes me question just if the Seahawks, you know, if how long is Pete Carroll going to be there? How long is their GM going to be there? Because I feel like they've made some incredibly bad decisions in the recent years that are coming back to haunt them.
I got one more gripe to pick with Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson in Chicago wore 15 and he was AR 15. Now he wears number 12 and he's AR 12, and it's just, you know, it doesn't work.
I don't know why he would leave that on the table. It's like, do you not want merchandise?
Yeah,
it's George going to number 13 just for PG-13.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, AK-47, Andre Kirilenko wearing 47. Like, who the hell wears 47? Because his initials is AK. It just worked like that. Like, things work, and you switch teams, and now things don't work. But Anthony Miller, number 17, looked good. Memphis wide receiver, the second-round pick. He looked really good. I liked him coming out of the college. He's going to be a good one for them as well. Trey Burton got a touchdown pass. I didn't start him. I seem to not be able to start good tight ends in fantasy. I always start the wrong one. So, yeah.
We don't have enough time for fantasy problems right now because I think
we forgot a game.
You have a laundry list of fantasy problems.
Before we get to that, my apologies to the fans of Oakland. It doesn't matter. You're losing your team anyway, so get over it. What I noticed, though, in the Raiders-Broncos game, like Alex had mentioned, the Broncos win on a last-second field goal, but we saw the Raiders again fall apart in the second half. We're not seeing adjustments. We're not seeing them scheme to their opponent almost. It's like they go off their script, and if it works the first 15, 20 minutes, so be it. But I don't know if they look gassed or what the deal was, but Oakland just looked flat the entire second half, and it allowed Denver to take that game.
Emmanuel Sanders is having a really good season, and he is showing everybody that, you know, he's underrated. Not a lot of people talk about Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders is a really, really good receiver, and he's showing it in Denver. Philip Lindsay has come out of nowhere. He's undrafted free agent, and he's probably going to be their starting running back. He's going to be their featured running back. He's played more than Royce Freeman, and he's had better offensive spurts, more explosion than Royce Freeman. So Philip Lindsay is a guy that definitely would keep an eye on. I believe he's probably already picked up in our league. But if you're listening and Philip Lindsay's available in your league, please go and pick up Philip Lindsay 100%.
And that's coming from a Royce Freeman owner.
Yeah, I own Royce Freeman. I started Royce Freeman, and it's just like, things aren't working.
My Oregon Ducks out there, they're faltering. It hurts.
Outside of that, though, like I said, Oakland, this is just not how they envisioned the John Gruden era starting. 2 pretty bad losses in a row, and now they're 0-2 on the year with a division loss already under their belt. So
I think I will say this: Derek Carr went 29 of 32. So definitely just an amazing game in terms of finding targets. Marshawn Lynch looked like Marshawn Lynch, bouncing off of people, running, trucking, doing all those things. So I don't think that John Gruden's really going to have to change much. I just think that they're going to have to find a little bit more luck here in the next couple of weeks. It's a bummer that they lost on the last minute field goal, but that's just the way the NFL goes sometimes.
Derek Carr had a really good game. He didn't make any mistakes. He played a really good game. It's just they lost to Denver. Denver got the ball last, and they made it count, and they had a field goal, and 7 seconds left on the clock. So, sometimes you just run out of time. If Oakland would have got the ball last instead of Denver, I think Oakland probably wins the game. Also on non-related, kind of related news, the Las Vegas, we're getting another Oakland franchise. The Oakland A's, their AAA farm system is now Las Vegas 51s.
So this is actually, you guys are going to kind of laugh at this, and I actually learned this from a 51s game I went to a few years back. So whoever the A's AAA affiliate ends up being, like whoever it's been throughout the years, there's some, I don't know if it's a conspiracy or uniform code or something that goes with the A's, but all their teams have to wear white cleats, whether it be the Major League Ball team, AAA, single A, double A, whoever else it might be. Their base uniform code calls for white cleats. So that's my little minor league nugget for the day.
That's weird as hell. So since I've been in Vegas, the Las Vegas 51s have been a minor league affiliate to like 3 different teams. They were the Dodgers.
They were the Blue Jays?
Yeah, they were Dodgers, Mets, and A's.
No, and the Blue Jays. They were the Blue Jays for a year.
Yep.
Okay, so 4. I completely missed the Blue Jays one.
I think the Blue Jays one was a short one, but
it was like 1 year.
It's going to be nice because they are getting a new stadium in downtown Summerlin too. So maybe people are going to show up to more games and actually support the team.
It'll be more accessible over there too.
You won't have to worry about, oh no, a heroin addict is stealing my car. No, honey, we can't drive home yet. We have to wait for the drug deal to finish.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Cashman Field is in a very questionable side of town.
No problem.
I mean, you still have to go see the lights there.
Nah.
Nah.
Any last thoughts on week 2, guys?
Let's go to this fantasy segment. What you got, John? What's going on with fantasy football for Team Roberts over there?
So, it's like I said, it is the worst creation. I can't stand this game. It is the worst guessing game ever. I hate how there's no skill involved whatsoever. It is sheer dumb luck in guessing of putting one person in the right spot, and that people actually take pride in this kind of thing and think that they are some kind of quote unquote god over this is absolutely ridiculous. I hate that I keep falling for this. I hate that I keep signing up for it. I hate that I keep getting worked up over it. This game is useless.
I mean, I picked up the Bears defense right when they traded for Khalil Mack. I want to say that was a savvy move. I drafted Patrick Mahomes as a flyer. I took Jimmy Garoppolo, Matt Stafford, and Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes decided to throw 6 touchdowns, and I started him. Like things happen. You pick the wrong things, and you push the wrong buttons, and you pull the wrong strings. We just got to get you like on the right path.
I'm 0-2. I lost because of AJ Green, because your Baltimore Ravens for some reason can't cover the only playmaker on that team for whatever reason. So I've lost to Roncal, who had a historic Week 1 performance, and then Shane, who had to pull it out from God knows where. So
do we know who won the Gordon Norman matchup?
Norman lost. Norman and his San Diego Chargers had a really good week. It's just he also had Rob Gronkowski, who had like 2 points, and he also had Shady McCoy, who had like 2 points. So it was a bad week. Also, Tristan had Todd Gurley going, who had 3 touchdowns.
So Brian had Gronk get him 0, and Greg Zerline, who leg fell off before the game even started. 2 points from Isaiah Crowell, and then 4 points from LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah, it was a bad week, but he had like 60 combined points from like Melvin Gordon and Phillip Rivers, I want to say.
Oh, yeah, the Chargers helped him out. For those of you who don't know, there will be a bet coming out pretty soon here, and it's going to be pretty fun.
Norman's got to pay up.
We will be back here pretty soon to preview Week 3, guys. I want to thank you guys for listening in. We're getting back on a better schedule, so hopefully this continues on, and I don't have another life-altering event.
Yep, football probably we're going to see Week 3 preview coming out Thursday, maybe Wednesday night. Also look for the MLB pod to return. Hopefully this weekend, I'm guessing, for the playoff run.
Oh, the Yankees better not blow this.
Blow what? Whoa.
Blow this wild card lead. They only got a 2-game lead.
Well, I mean, there's 2 wild card spots.
Yeah, but then we have to go to Oakland and then probably play Boston the day after.
There's like literally nobody else in the wild card race other than Oakland and New York.
I'll leave this for. I just want to leave this little nugget because I think it's super interesting. If Tampa Bay was in any other division, they'd have like a 1-game lead.
But no, they're in a division with 2 historically ass-kicking teams.
Oh, the Red Sox lead went down to 9.5 games this week.
10.5
today. How the hell did that happen? Oh my gosh!
Cubs have pushed their lead back to 3.5. You know, a little bit of a scare there, but you know,
despite the best efforts of Christian Yelich, but we'll cover more of this later.
Yeah.
I want to thank you guys for listening in this week. You can follow the show on Twitter at Bleach Preach Pod. We're also on Instagram at Bleach Preacher Podcast as well, where Mario, God forbid we give him anything. I fired him, but I think I just outright fired him. Mario, if you're listening to this, please do something with that. I want to have you involved again, since we'll cover that later. We're also we're all on Twitter ourselves. You can find me at Jonathan_R.
I'm Roncal33 BPP.
Rob_BPP. With
his random but yet hilarious retweets at random times. So give them all a follow. The show can be found on the iTunes podcast store, wherever you can find it. We're also on SoundCloud as well as Stitcher, Google Play, where most podcasts can be found. So we want to thank you guys for listening in, and we'll hear from you guys pretty soon and catch you in for Week 3.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.